organizing this, so we are still learning, the process.
Okay, so thank you all for joining us for today's Strumenta meetup. We are a pleasure to welcome Alaaeddin Swidan. He's an assistant professor of computer science at the Open University. He obtained his PhD from TU Delft in 2009 with a focus on understanding the issues and the needs of end-user programmers using, for example, Excel spreadsheets. Towards the end of his PhD, he has shifted his research interests in computer science education, and more specifically, he worked with young children and try to understand and help with their struggles while learning programming. He has been working on, together with Feline Hermans, on an Arabic version of Hedy, and today he is going to talk about the localization effort that they had in developing this Arabic version of Hedy. So thank you, Alaaeddin, for accepting our invite, and I leave you the stage, and good luck.
Thank you, Lorenzo, and all for the invitation to this presentation. A small correction: I finished my PhD in 2019, and not 2009.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm that old, but not that old. Anyway, yeah, today I'm glad to present to you the case of Arabic Hedy as a step that we try to make in order to localize the programming platform of Hedy. I will just make a quick introduction into what is Hedy, why was Hedy created. I think you are familiar with Feline. I saw she was the previous presenter. But in any case, I like to say something about it, and then I want to say a little bit about why do we want to localize a programming language in the first place, and then I will describe the architecture of Hedy and how the localization efforts went ahead, and in specific I will highlight some of the challenges and aspects that the Arabic Hedy has faced, and possibly, if we have time, I think also we can do a small demo of the language. So Feline created Hedy as a gradual programming language, and with her interest and focus on computer science education, Hedy came as a result of that, and I was a PhD student under her supervision as well, and in my PhD I also was part of this understanding of how we should teach programming to children of a young age, starting from primary school, and maybe for some people also before that. And as a result, Hedy came to help in this area of textual programming language in schools or for a target group that is young. One of the reasons is that in schools and during our work usually start with a visual programming environment or a visual programming language such as Scratch or Snap, in order to eliminate or to reduce the problems with syntax, because beginners or new learners have problems in order to keep the syntax correct and at the same time learn the concepts of programming. And yeah, we can see, for example, that the languages that those learners are introduced to after finishing or after reaching the levels that the maximum that they can get from Scratch, and they want to move to, let's say, a real programming language. We have Python, JavaScript, etc. But with Python, which is very popular, we see some ambiguous and unclear, for example, error messages when it comes to syntax errors. And this also like makes some detachment for those new learners, because they are trying to achieve something when they copy programming statement here, or they're trying to understand a specific small concept of like sequential programming or sequential execution of a program. But suddenly they are met with an error, and you as a teacher, you need to then maybe spare some time in order to teach them some concepts in relation to the structure of the code, or the certain elements that they need to be aware of. And in this sense, Hedy comes as a way to like eliminate these problems for at least in the beginning, because then you can focus on the conceptual building of the programming concepts, and then also try to produce a clearer image for the learner in terms of the error messages. So what did they make wrong, and how they can fix and act upon this error message and fix their program. Hedy also had the localization in mind from the beginning, because the UI was translated to Dutch, and also the error messages were translated. But the real localization of the keywords and the programming language itself came a bit later. And that brings us like, why did this happen in the first place? Why do we want a localized language? One of the aspects one of the reasons came actually from the children themselves. In an early study with Hedy, with Dutch children using Hedy, they asked for a localized language in terms of the keywords. And I personally did not find this strange, because I was part of classrooms with brilliant children. And even though they are programming very nicely in Scratch, very good and very like big programs in comparison to their levels, using the Dutch Scratch, of course, when we want to introduce them to Python, there was always this kind of challenge of the English language as a barrier. And I saw it also with myself, because I come from an Arabic mother language. Also learning English and learning programming at the same time was a bit challenging. And this is also confirmed by the research, because for example, in this paper, a lot of results from meeting different people from different from different natural languages, that they described their struggles when they were learning programming, and at the same time, of course, learning English. And here is the quote, one of two quotes related to Arabic. And as we see, of course, it's not only about the language itself, but some also that goes beyond to the materials and the resources and the internet, etc. It's always or mostly in English, let's say, and that makes it difficult for people to continue, even if they like programming, because it's too much of a challenge. Also, there was a nice model that we realized recently that it exists, actually, the ethno-programming model, and it describes a model that people who aspire to reach children or beginners in non-English cultures on what to do and actually to reach these people and make programming more relevant and more accessible to them. And of course, we need the hardware in the first place to be available, but also we need more layers in a way that, like the software that accepts the possibility of your to perform programming in your language, the terminology of the programming language, and also of the resources around it, and the culture. And as we know, the spoken language or your mother language is part of your culture. In addition to have it in your programming language, it is also important to reflect your culture on the or those people's culture on the material surrounding it. And altogether, this makes programming more relevant to people who do not speak English and who might be a bit left behind in this sense. Of course, when Hedy was made, or when it was first localized, these kind of aspects were not fully considered, but it is important to put Hedy in this context of making programming more relevant to non-English speaker. And to understand how the localization of Hedy went through, and specifically, of course, with the efforts of the lab and the team of Filina. So first, there is the Hedy code that the children will, or the child will write in the specific level of Hedy. For example, here, in ask, name, print, hello, and then echo. These are Hedy terms and Hedy keywords. And then there is this the grammar that and the parser that checks this written code against the accepted keywords in the grammar and the syntax, and eventually a syntax tree is generated, and from the syntax tree it is transpiled back into Python code, and from then it is executed in the browser. And for this, an open source framework for the grammar that's called Lark is used, and there you can specify the rules that you want, and it will generate the grammar for you. And then another open source project called Sculpt is used to actually execute Python in the browser for a specific program. Of course, the idea was also when the localization happened is that a specific grammar per the spoken language is created. So, for example, in Dutch it will be a Dutch grammar, an Arabic grammar, etc. But in the summer 2020, we had a workshop that's called PLAT programming in languages that are not English. And one of the experienced researcher from the US, Mark Guziel, he mentioned that, okay, bilingual people also want to mix. So not only using their own mother language, but sometimes they will use this keyword from Dutch, this keyword from English, or in my case, Arabic English, for example. And for this sense, the grammars also were made in a way that it allows combine these grammars together. So it allows the keyword in your own language, but also in the English variant of it, or in the English language. So we can see for on the left the Dutch grammar, for example, for some of the keywords, and on the right is the Arabic grammar for some of the keywords as well. Starting from here, I would like to highlight some of the challenges that we went through in localizing the Arabic Hedy, or creating the Arabic Hedy. And we start with the variable names. And in the variable names, it highlights how the technologies that Hedy is built upon makes some assumptions in order for us to that made something more difficult for us to accomplish. And in here with the variable names, as we mentioned, we use the Lark framework, and in there there is the C name as a that describes the accepted letters or the accepted characters that describe the variable. And as we can see, it accepts an underscore letter followed by an underscore letter digit. But when we check the letter, and it's uppercase letter or lowercase letter, and in principle, it's only the English letters. So the lowercase from A to Z and the uppercase from A to Z. This also tells that it's a problem not only for Arabic or for non-English or for non-Latin, let's say, languages, but also for some Latin languages that has characters with a notion on top of it to describe a different sound is also problematic, and these things were not accepted at that point. So what was needed to do is to actually recreate this part and allow all possible letters as part of the variable name. It was just googling this stuff and trying to get something that is working in order to allow all kind of characters, and at the same time also allowing all kind of numbers in the creation of a variable name, for example. Another aspect is related to in Arabic, which is the right to left aspect of the language. How did the parsing was done? And in this sense, the parsing was in a way the easiest part, because while the text in this screen, for example, it says "قول مرحبا أيها العالم," which means print hello world. For us, for people using Arabic software, they will see the text from right to left, but when it's stored in the machine code, it is the "قول" part, which is the keyword, will be the leftmost part of the code. So it's not a problem in terms of the parser, but it is a problem for people who debug this if they don't understand it correctly. And not only, of course, non-Arabic people, but also for Arabic people in some cases I will show in a bit. But for example, here, when we have قول مرحبا أيها العالم, which means again print hello world, and if we want to print the input string, it's the whole string. And if we want to print the input string 0, the first letter, for me, it's straightforward that it should be the qa, which is the first word letter in a قول, but maybe for other people it might be confusing. I have to say that the first letter here is the same, but it looks different because the Arabic changes the form of the letter when you connect two letters together. And as I mentioned, also this right to left nature of the language it gets a bit problematic when you want to mix Arabic and English, because the presentation is up to programs. So, for example, this is a text I copied from one of the translations of the materials on the Hedy platform. Not sure if I can run it. In principle, this is a conditional check. So this is checking if a variable called frog actually equals or contains the text frog, and then it will print excellent. These are not presented the same, although they are written in the exact same direction in a way. So this starts with if, and then the variable frog is frog, and then print excellent goes to the leftmost. The second one will move in the same way. It should move in the same way, but it is presented differently. And the reason for that is that in one of the, if I put it back, in one of the sentences, I used the English, I used the curly brackets while I was using the English keyboard on my computer, but the other was using the curly bracket on the Arabic keyboard. This simple mistake caused a lot of problems in terms of the presentation. And this happens also while we work with software editors or programming editors. So for example, to the left, we see here two programming statements. الاسم هو هدي, which means name is Hedy, and then قول مرحبا الاسم, print hello name. And now we see in PyCharm that the first one is presented correctly from right to left. Ism is Hedy, but the second one, there was a problem because print came to the leftmost while it should be the rightmost segment of the code. Vim does it completely differently because it's it doesn't care. It just writes everything from left to right, and actually changes the Arabic word by also switching its direction. So the meme is for example here, the meme is the last letter here for me, but from right to left, I see it as the first letter in the word. So in principle, I can read these words from right to left in Arabic, but they don't mean anything. So these kind of presentation issues are problematic, and many people face it in everyday life. And of course, when we work with software programs, software editing, it's also okay. Sorry, I was checking. Not sure if I'm checking. I should be checking the chat, but I just noticed there is some chat. Anyway, so the RTL presentation is up to programs, and these were part of the issues and still part of the issues because the translation is in progress. Translation effort is happening for Hedy, and it is sometimes difficult for translators to mix Arabic and English because the English keywords are usually put in brackets in order to keep their the translator flexibility happening. The other aspect that was challenging also is related to the numerals, and with the numerals, we know that there are different numeral systems that are used in the world. And there are localized numerals, and there are, let's say, the English numerals. I know that historically also the English numeric system came from like also the Arabic origins, and the Arabic numerals that are used now came with the effects from Hindi language. So when I mention Arabic now in this context, I mean the ones that are used in the Arabic world or in the Arabic language now, and the English that are used in the English language now. So this is a simple programming statement saying repeat 3 times, print Hedy is fun. And as we see that it's using the English 3 at this point. One of the aspects that I want to highlight is that after the print statement, we accept the text that we accept. We identify using the negative parsing. And negative parsing is actually eliminating or accepting only the things that is actually not allowing the things that you don't want and allowing everything else. And in this sense, we don't want a new line, for example, and we don't want to have the comment, and everything else is accepted. The reason I want to mention this is that the negative parsing, we were introduced to it by Ramsey Nassar, and Ramsey Nassar is a programmer in the US who comes from a Lebanese background, and who also created himself an Arabic programming language called Alp, which means heart. And he was also inspirational to us in terms of the decisions we made in many of the keywords related to the Arabic Hedy. Back to the numerals again. What we wanted to say is that if we use the English numeral of 3, everything is fine. This Hedy code is transpiled into Python, and when we run it, it's running. So Hedy is found 3 times, is printed. But when we replace the English 3 with Arabic 3, and then it's transpiled into Python, suddenly there is, of course, a problem. And we have here a syntax error, invalid character and identifier. So it's according to the errors, invalid character and identifier. So it thinks that this 3 is a variable name, maybe, or something like that. So with Arabic Hedy, I is 3, print I is something like something okay. But if we want to say, for example, I is or I equals 3 qa, which is 3 is a number, and qa is a letter, the first letter of the word qul that we used before. And if we try to print it, he says Python will tell us name error, name 3 qa is not defined, or qaf 3. There is a problem of how to the direction also is not in consistence, because if we write from left to right, we read it I is qa 3 is qa is the first one from left to right, but in the error it writes it it identifies as 3 qa from right to left. And it's not also clear to us from the 2 errors that we faced. Is it invalid character and identifier, or is it at the same time an acceptable? Is it an acceptable number, or is it just a random character that is not accepted? So with the errors that are presented from Python, it's also difficult to judge how does it see the Arabic number characters presented in this example. In any way, to go over this and to solve this, there was a possibility using the casting the Arabic letters, the Arabic numbers, and using the int, for example, here it will Python will accept this and print it in the, or deal with it in the normal numerical way. And in this sense, using the casting with the repeat statement, Python will print it, and it will print it Hedy's font 3 times. But again, as part of the Hedy architecture, we use Sculpt in order to run Python in the browser. And then there was another issue, because this was not accepted as part of the Sculpt code. And for that, we needed to override the built-in int function in order to create some sort of mapping between the Arabic and English numerals. And after doing this, of course, it was possible to execute, but the output was still in the English numerals, or the English numbers. and for that also another overriding was needed in order to create another mapping in the output of window to be presented. Going back to the framework of OT Laite from the Finnish researcher that mentioned culture as also important in order to consider for reaching people who do not speak English. We thought that there are aspects in the Arabic language that are important to consider, and that could be considered as cultural elements. And in this sense, we consider the gendered words of Arabic. In the Arabic language, nouns have a gender in a way, and this gender decide either the verb or some of the related sentence elements that could be used. In Hedy, we use in some of the early levels, we use the word or the verb is in order for to make assignments, so variable assignments. And in this sense, the variable name will have an effect on the form of is that is used in the Arabic language, because the variable has its own gender. In this example, for example, we have the word name. Name is Hedy, and then print or قول مرحبا الاسم. So print hello name. And in Arabic, the word name is masculine, so it should. Sorry. So we should use the male is with it. But if we have another variable that is called, for example, الزاوية, which means the angle, and then it should be a female is. And to solve this is we went back to the grammar and allowed different is to be accepted. So it's either huwa is the male or hiya is the female is in the grammar of the Arabic Hedy.
Is there a check to see if they've done it right, or is it always you can use either?
The first part of the question I didn't hear well.
It's your grammar saying that you can use either, so the actual thing as it's written can still be incorrect, so the person can use the wrong is with the wrong noun.
Yes, for now this is the case. So it could be wrong in terms of the Arabic language. You could use like with a masculine name the female is. But I think there is some work towards some kind of an automatic detection of the type of the noun in order to make it more easier for the programmer or for the learner to choose which one is best, but it's not yet applied.
So a grammar checker for the grammar.
Yeah, in a way. Another aspect is related to the calligraphy of Arabic, which allows for some of the letters to be extended. We call it tatwil in Arabic. So as we know that the Arabic letters allow for some kind of connections, and when we connect two letters together, in some cases we can extend this connection, and this extension we call tatwil is a separate letter. So we can think of it as sorry, not letter, is a separate character. So in a way it's meaningless, but it's there in the language, and it adds to the cultural aspect of the language because of the beauty of writings that could be made using this tatwil and how you can fit stuff together. So in principle, this extra character is should be added. And what we did also is that we did it in the grammar. Right now, it's accepted to have this extra tatweet character everywhere, which is not also correct in terms of Arabic. So it needs another improvement here, because we should be able to add this tatweel in specific cases and not everywhere. So another check in this case is needed. But for now, it's allowed everywhere to actually do this tatweel. I think this is it in terms of the aspects of the Arabic Hedy, and I wanted to show it in action. Let me see if I can share another screen. Okay, this is the home page of Hedy, and as you can see, there are currently a lot of languages supported. Last time I checked, I think it was about 40 or 41, not sure. But when it comes to Arabic, of course, I already chose the Arabic version, and then we go to try it. The nice thing is that also it was mostly me who was working on the Arabic Hedy, but recently we created a small community of programmers, also contributors and translators in the Arabic language, and work is ongoing in order to translate all possible material in the language, in order not only, of course, to cover the keywords, but for each level we have here, we have the basic page where the keywords, the main keywords, are introduced, and then here are the commands. You can choose whether you want to use the English command or the Arabic command. But apart from that, you have also some kind of sample exercises that you could start working on as a beginner in order to get deeper into the level. So for in this very early level, again, for example, we could say قول مرحبا يا العالم, and in this I could use so here is the tatweel character is used in the right place, and as we see, the highlighter still recognizes this as the keyword. And of course, we can say anything like hello strumenta. I'm not sure if I wrote it correctly. I'll do it like this, and then execute. It will write the text after the keyword code. We can try, of course, the next level. And here, of course, this comes the issue of the hua, or which is the gendered name. We could use another feature that I was talking about, like al-ism huwa Hedy, and we could use another like yeah. Now, as you can see, this numerical, it's still in English, and that is related to the a lot of things because it's not that easy to write the Arabic letters if you are not in the correct environment. So there are sometimes browser settings, sometimes Windows settings that limits your or specifies your choices, and that is yeah, sometimes annoying. But
so right now, if we're reading right to left, is that 39 or 93?
Yeah, that's 93. Because well, the numbers work in the same way. In a sense, it's yeah. How do we how do we describe it? The most weight goes to the left, and the less weights are to the right. So this is the 90 and the 3 to the right, the rightmost. And if we want to say Qul al-Zawiya. So here we can see that both the gendered is in male and female forms are identified, even also again with the tatwil. That's also possible. Oh, that's not possible. So we have a problem. So I think with the tatwil and the gendered word, I think it's hard-coded in a way. So we should fix that. But it's good that we discovered it. But in a way, also you can, there's a lot of things to do. We are towards the 3rd or 4th level in terms of full translation, but we have to say that it is meant to be used in classrooms. So there is still the part for the teacher that needs to be translated, and a lot of examples need to be considered in or translated in a culturally relevant manner, or according to the ethno-programming model as well. So there are a lot of examples that could not be relevant for a child in the Arab world or somewhere else, that needs to be considered in the creation of the material. So by this, I will end the demo and go back to the final slide of the presentation, just to thank you and to ask you to tell us what you think, any questions. Also, I have a request for you. If you are familiar with a localized programming language in your own mother language, this is also interesting and important for us to know how they did things and how we can learn from them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the interesting presentation. If there is any question, it's time to ask them. In the meantime, I have a question. Okay, so Mente, please go on.
Yeah, one question. Can you also, or would it be possible to switch Hedy to vowelized Arabic?
What is it? Sorry.
Vowelized Arabic. I mean, with the short vowels, the diacritics for the short vowels.
I think what you mean is what we call is the harakat, which is a small, if I understand correctly, it's the small, let's say, notions on top of the letters that gives direction to the letter.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So right now it's not supported, but it is part of the development that is ongoing, because we accept a keyword in a specific form, and if you want to allow these kind of harakat or vowels or small vowels, it's not that easy to you need to create it in different forms with different kind of small vowels and then allow it. it's not yet supported, but it is part of the development efforts that we think about it, and it's still not implemented.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I have a question about the TAT wheels. I also wrote it in the chat. I was thinking you've been experiencing some issues with discarding or considering these TAT wheels in the middle of keywords or somewhere else. It seems to me that the symbols are used as we usually use white spaces. So have you thought about just discarding treating TAT wheels like white spaces and just discarding this during the tokenization phase?
That's also, I think, a nice possibility we did not consider, but yeah, I mean, in principle, it's actually, I mean, if you want to allow them, how would you like, you just remove them from everywhere? Then you will face it that you will remove them from the text, for example, or only from the keyword tokenization.
Yeah, just the result would be that you don't have the stat wheels in the parse tree, but still you have it in the text. And then from the parse tree, well, you will not have them in the Python, but I guess you don't need them. But the original text would not be modified.
I think, yeah, I think it's a possibility. Yeah. But right now we did not. Yeah, we implemented it this way, as I showed in the presentation.
Okay, thanks. And I also have another question. Yes. Have you thought about some solutions for localizing things like variable names or function names, so that, for example, the same code could be maybe you write some code in Arabic and then you want to use it in some English code, and everything gets mixed up. Have you thought about some ways to combine different languages while keeping just one language, for example? So I want to use a library that's written in English, but I want to use it using my language.
That's a bit complicated, I would think. Yeah. Trying to imagine how it will work also within the context of Hedy. But as I mentioned, I mean, if you are within the English going to other languages, it's easier because English is allowed everywhere. But if it's the other way around, I think it will be more trickier to allow using, for example, a package or a function created or written in Arabic in a code that is basically in English. I think in this way you need to consider also the presentation, which it will be also problematic to put them all together or in the same way. It will depend on the editor. I mean, within the context of Hedy, we can control stuff, but it's not, of course, the levels that we are talking about are still like beginner levels. So it's not full like capabilities of such as the Python language, but within other contexts, if you want to mix languages, it is yeah, it's not only about the grammar. It goes also about the technology that you are using and building, viewing and representing the code eventually.
Okay. Okay, Paul has a question.
Yeah, so Hedy is a gradual language that goes from a starting language through to Python, and at some point there's
a subset of Python, I would say.
Well, a subset of Python. Okay, so when you get to the end, is that subset of Python, is that still using Python keywords? And then my question would be, at what point do you decide to introduce the English keywords into the learning experience?
So if you're using the Arabic version, you will be using the Arabic keywords until then, but you have.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but if, as you saw also in the demo, we allow the user or the learner to choose from the beginning for each level which English or Arabic keywords to use, like toggling between them. So this is still a possibility from the first level to the 18th level, let's say.
Okay.
So we don't force the transition in a sense. We don't force it at a specific level, let's say, for example. You can, in principle, go from level 1 to 18 only with the Arabic keyword. Of course, that brings us to the issue that many people will ask, okay, eventually they will need to switch to Python, which is in English. But that's, I think, another question because of the educational aspect of the language. So there is transfer that will happen in different contexts. For example, with Scratch to Python or with Scratch to other languages, there is transfer, and people should also look at it in critically, I am sure. But within the context of Hedy, I think the building of the conceptual knowledge is the focus point, and when you learn with your own mother language, it's proven to be better, and we want to try it with the programming itself as well.
And how many users do you have so far? How many kids are using it at the moment?
With the Arabic one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a couple of them, not a lot, because it's not yet advertised as a complete language. So we are working with some translators in the Arab world, in Egypt, in Palestine, and we hope that it will be actually used in classrooms soon. Until then, of course, we want to make the language as complete as possible in order for it to be ready to be used.
Can I ask you a question? I was seeing that Hedy supports so many languages, so I was wondering how, if in Hedy you support other right to left languages or other languages with genders, and if you discuss these challenges with people localizing Hedy to other languages, or do you think that given there are different combinations, maybe the solution maybe for supporting right to left in Arabic is different than supporting right to left in other language?
Yes, that's a good point. Actually, yeah, we know that other people are, of course, working on other right to left languages, like we have the Farsi and the Hebrew on the website, and we know that these languages also have similar constructs, like these kind of gendered names, or even with the Farsi, it's almost the same character set as well. So there's not a lot of discussion because the Arabic translation is a bit ahead of the other languages, unfortunately. But there are some initial discussions with these interested, and we don't know to what extent like this can be like a shared model between these languages, but we know for sure that, for example, the gendered words will be in each of the Farsi and the Hebrew. I think maybe the Urdu as well. So we think there should be like these kind of shared constructs. but it's not clear to what extent it will be used, also because of yeah, sometimes you have this construct in a language, but to what extent it's actually used in practice or in classrooms or with students. Sometimes teachers prefer to keep it in this different way or a specific way for younger age, etc. So I'm not sure, I cannot judge by now on such things. And on the other thing, also we are trying to learn more about these kind of shared experiences and shared struggles in a way by communicating on the community of Hedy translators. We try to ask questions like, what kind of problems did you have when you trying to translate specific keywords or specific issues that you faced from different mother languages or natural languages, and not only looking at right to left, but also on the broader context.
Thank you.
Okay, then I guess we can stop the recording and see if we have some more questions. In the meantime,